Hey, Foilers. Ben and I need your help as we continue to work to grow it for God and increase the amount of listeners to the podcast. Here's what you can do to help. Head on over to our website, thetfhc.com, and be sure to sign up for the email newsletter. Doing so will make sure you get content as soon as it's available. Also, join us over at the Tinfoil Hat Club podcast page on Facebook, and be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share with everyone you think would enjoy the show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for being fantastic and for all the love and support. Now, back to the show. Well, hello and welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Club. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Ben.
And it's good to have you all joining us. Sorry for the lovely technological screw-up we had there.
Yeah.
You can test it 80 million times, but until you actually need it, then, of course, it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. But thanks for joining us today. If any of you are out there and people are still struggling to get on, I did drop the direct link to the stream, the YouTube link. I dropped it on our group page. I dropped it in the chat. So share that with friends. If anybody's having problems getting on, I know our website doesn't seem like it's going through the website like it's supposed to. I'll figure that out for the next time around. I apologize. Like I said, I tried it several times and had it working the other day, but when you need it, it don't happen. And if you miss this, we're going to record it and it'll be out tomorrow.
That's right.
So the audio anyway. But thanks for joining us. So, long story short, we figured that this was an important topic that we needed to cover based on everything we have going on in the world. Everybody has seen what's going on, and ultimately, it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a problem. So, long story short, we figured we'd talk about it. We're going to get into a lot of different things. We're going to get into the human aspect of it, but then also we figured we would talk and get into the biblical aspect of it, which is exactly what we said we were going to do. And from the human aspect of it, this goes back the history aspect. I guess we're going to get into a little biblical here because it's technically going to get into, for the history perspective, you got to touch into the biblical aspect and go back to what the Bible says from a history perspective and then kind of fill in the gaps to modern day. But this whole situation over there is new to some people, but it ain't new to them. This is a long feud that goes all the way back to literally Genesis.
Yes, it does.
And when you understand the lineage back in Genesis, you can understand how everything is kind of structured. The way that I described it to the students the other day in class, this is the longest, ugliest, dirtiest family blood territorial feud in history.
Yeah, that's true.
Hatfields and McCoys ain't got nothing on these guys.
I know, that's true.
And it's really sad. We shouldn't laugh, but, we get where we're coming from because literally thousands of people have already died and thousands more are going to die.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. The real question of the day is how far into biblical prophecy is this?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's the really, I think for us as Christians that know our Bibles, that's the $1 million question is how into things are we now?
Yeah.
And ultimately, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. So it's very curious, and we'll have to just kind of see as time goes on where we are with that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we're going to have to just pray. We're going to have to remain vigilant, and we're going to have to figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So, but when you go back and you read your Bibles in Genesis, ultimately what you figure out and what you come to is goes all the way back to Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, and even further back than that, technically, when we divided everyone out after the Tower of Babel, right?
Yeah.
So we go through the flood, and then after that, we have everybody repopulating the earth. We move forward a few hundred years, and we have the Tower of Babel. The tower gets knocked down. God scatters all of the people, and then hands them over to the other Elohim that we talked about.
Yep.
I got Elohim in there, Ben.
Yeah,
Are you proud
did.
of me?
Yes, I am.
All right. And then we get the other Elohim in there, and then we kind of move forward, and God chooses to have his chosen people, Israel, through the line of Abraham.
Yep.
So we have Abraham, then we have Isaac, and we have Jacob. But when we get to Isaac is really where we see the setup of kind of what we have today in a really rough format. Because Isaac winds up being the forefather of Israel.
Yeah.
But then Ishmael, who was Sarah's maidservant, Abraham has a child with her as well, and that is Ishmael.
Yeah.
And Ishmael is the father of the Arabs.
Yes.
And then you just kind of move forward, and you get into this particular territory over in Israel today, which comprises of the West Bank, comprises Gaza, and that whole area over there. And you move forward in time, and this was a long-held, you can go read the biblical history of it. We go back and forth, but then we eventually get to kind of fast-forwarding a little bit to World War I. And by the time World War I happened, the Ottoman Empire controlled the vast majority of the ring that goes around the Mediterranean, which included Israel.
Yeah.
And that ring, the Ottoman Empire sides with Germany during the war.
Yeah.
Now, World War I. And, of course, they lose the war, and the Ottoman Empire is fractured up. And France and Britain actually take pieces of that territory down there in Israel, and they don't want to deal with everybody down there. I think they actually, at that particular point, called the land Palestine and kind of pulled out. And because everybody had been displaced, there were a lot of the Jewish that actually went up into Europe and actually fled the Middle East to get away from everything down there and have better lives. And then as we move forward in time, we kind of have this Zionist movement, I think, that wants to move back in and actually form a state of Israel, like an actual country, and form Israel. And so by the time, you get right around World War II and slightly after, I think Israel was formed officially as a state in 1948.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the politics of the world that allowed it to happen. And along the way, the Palestinians, who the land was called Palestine for a long time, wind up kind of getting squeezed out.
Yeah.
And either out of the country, they're forced to flee, like hundreds of thousands of people, and forced into these other countries. And then we have several different wars that kind of take place because they're mad because they got squeezed out of what they felt like was their rightful country or their rightful place where they lived. And, Israel's like, well, this is the promised land. This is our land. We should be here. So you have these wars that pop up. And every time the wars pop up, Israel kicks everyone's butt.
Yeah.
And everybody gets sent packing. And then you can see it repeated time after time after time throughout all of this span whenever that would happen. And in order to have peace, Israel would actually secede land over there and give it back to Palestine. And so we get into this really complex mess that we have today, where you have Gaza that is down in the southwestern portion of the country, the Gaza Strip, and then you have the West Bank, which is the western bank of the Dead Sea that includes Jerusalem. And that whole area up there is really kind of a mishmash of control. And then you have a lot of holy sites in there, and the Temple Hole, and the Wailing Wall, and all these various places that are really sacred. And I think it was Ariel Sharon back in like the 90s, I want to say, where did he go? He went somewhere that was a holy city or a holy place that was like controlled by Palestine, and he went there and prayed, and that just irritated the crap out of him. But you got the 6-day war, which I think was that the Yom Kippur War?
Yeah.
So you got the Yom Kippur War that happened in 1973.
I thought that was that. Okay.
Could be a different one. I don't know. They've been at war several times, so it's hard to keep track.
I thought the 6-day war was in 68.
Yeah, I think you're right. So
that's the one where Ariel Sharon was driving the tanks, and
because he was in the military at that point. And then he later became the leader of the country and went over in the 90s and did that and ticked everybody off. But
and I think they probably didn't like him, so they got rid of him.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of things there that aren't
a conspiracy theory on the tinfoil hat club?
We wouldn't do that on here, Ben. So, so you have that happen. Checking with Adrian to see if everything's working properly. But you have all that happen. But what Hamas did the other day when they started all this and they went into Israel was the 50th anniversary to the day of the Yom Kippur War back in 1973, which when you look during that whole time frame in the 70s, and you have the PLO was in there as well, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. And I think it wasn't a fraction of the PLO that went into Munich and took the hostages.
I think so.
I think it was like a really extreme, which is crazy, right? It's like even the terrorists have politics, No, you're not extreme enough. Because eventually Hamas and the PLO actually started fighting with each other too. Because I think Hamas was like, you guys aren't getting it done. We're not happy with.
I think so.
You're not militant enough for us, and you need to do way more death than you're doing.
Yeah.
Now they're buddies, of course, because they're working together. Everybody's working together. So one of the things that has clearly come out behind all this, no bones about it, like they haven't hidden it at all, is Iran is backing Hamas when they've long backed Hezbollah, which is the other terrorist organization in the area, which is much larger and much scarier.
Yeah.
I don't know who backs the PLO anymore. I think it's like the PLO and Hamas merged. They now
merger.
It's like a terrorist merger.
Yeah. I wonder who's the leader.
Yeah. What's the stock ticker for that? And then you have Al Qaeda, who's also getting in the mix now. And
they're still around.
Well, of course they are, Ben. We gave them billions of dollars worth of our equipment. They got the best equipment.
That's what they used when they went in there.
They got the best equipment in the world. Fun fact for you right now. I'm in Twitter jail because I said that when you hand over billions of dollars worth of equipment to our enemy, that you should be tried and potentially executed for treason.
Yeah.
It didn't go over well on Twitter.
Oh, man. And I thought that was free speech.
Well, free's a relative term these days, Ben.
Yes, it is.
But yet, I must not be too crazy because, well, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you've got all these guys that are ganging up on Israel, right? And Israel's been mainly focused on the south with Gaza and all of Hamas because that's really where they came from, when they went on the boats and the paragliders, which, holy cow, the paragliders, dude, that was insane. But
I
now,
feel sorry for the guys that live around me that paraglide.
Right? It's like, maybe we should park these dudes for a couple months, right? It's like, it's a little scary up in here. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
On the north in Syria, now we have Hezbollah that's attacking with rockets up there. Yeah. And Israel has responded by bombing the airports at Damascus and Aleppo.
Yeah.
Which is up in that area. So they're really fighting on two fronts right now because Hezbollah is not going to stop, right? I'm like, they're more well-funded than Hamas is.
Yeah.
And you just look at all this, and then with Iran, when we had, and I'm not trying to say I'm pro-Trump or anything, but it's just a fact. When Trump was in office, he was much tougher on Iran and backed out of the deal, and it really stifled them moving forward on the nuclear front. And now with, Captain Dingbat in office, which I can't stand him and anybody that thinks he's doing a good job. Well, I have a problem. That's struggle. Struggle bus there. But they're quickly becoming, they're like they're in the red zone, if we were to use a football term.
Yeah.
So they're in the red zone to getting nuclear weapons, and they have made no bones about if they get a nuclear weapon, who they want to use it on.
Yeah.
Israel or us.
Yeah.
So
one thing, Maria said, she remembered a conversation she had with my dad few years ago when Trump was trying to like bring peace over there with the 10 other people. And she was like, you know, Trump was like making all these successions and giving them like weapons and things, you know, to do it. And she goes, you know, they're probably using the same stuff that Trump gave them.
Yeah, probably are.
We've funded this.
Yes.
We have.
Just like we talked about last week, I think we got into the whole Al-Qaeda thing and how, you know, this was the second time around we gave them a bunch of money. The first time around was back during the Afghan wars in the 80s when the Russians went in and we funded the Mujahideen.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're using all the weapons that are getting used more than likely either came from Russia or us. And I'm not sure what the split is between the two. I probably don't want to know. As you know, a lot of that weaponry got funneled over from Al-Qaeda somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think they used a lot of AR-15s. Or, I'm sorry, whatever they are on the military style.
M1A1?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the word.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Our stuff.
Our stuff. U.S.-made stuff.
Yeah. It's not AKs. It's our stuff.
Yeah, our stuff. That should be mine.
Yes.
You know?
I would like my money. I would like my military AR-15 back.
Yes.
Now, okay, so I'm glad we're talking about this because this is something else that we had talked about. We wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is the fact that, so there's the two components to this, right? There's the human component, but then there's the biblical component. So we've kind of touched upon biblical history, but also not really. It's like world history. The Bible just backs it up, right?
Yeah.
But there's the human component to this, which, you know, from that side, and this we won't shy away from, you know, speaking our minds from a political nature. But again, it's not really necessarily a political show.
No.
But I think given the circumstances and given some of the things that are going on right now and some of the arguments that are being made, it's important to discuss. And one of the things that I think is important to discuss is the Second Amendment here. Because, you know, we tend to get this hot argument about the Second Amendment in this country. And I think one of the arguments that's used a lot of the times for people that are pro Second Amendment, which it's the Constitution, so
yeah,
you know, that's what the law is, even though some states decide not to follow it and aren't held accountable. But we tend to focus on the fact that the Founding Fathers gave us the Second Amendment to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government, which I absolutely, 100%. But you and I have talked a couple times now about how if someone were to try that here, when you come sailing in body armor with a military rifle on a paraglider, right?
Yeah.
Like straight up Red Dawn style, and you can slaughter 1,200 people, it tells me, and I haven't looked into this, so shame on me, but I can't fathom I'm going to go find that Israel allows their citizens to have guns.
Yeah.
There's no way. Because there is no way. If somebody tried that here, you would get shot up.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that because if you want to try to invade our country, right, good luck, because you're already going to fight one of the most advanced militaries in the world with the advanced technologies in the world. But then beyond that, every citizen out there is going to shoot you.
Yeah.
Well, not every citizen, but a lot of them.
Yes.
And I think that's a very strong deterrent.
Yeah.
For someone that wants to come in and act with aggression into this country. So it just highlights, and I've seen this argument going around online, which is valid because it's something that we should be talking about.
Yeah.
And something that we don't often think about.
See, I would be like, what do I want to use?
Yeah, right? Which tool do I need to get out of the toolbox?
Yes.
Are we in full on like assault rifle mode here? Is it shotgun time, or will a handgun get it done?
Or long
or
range.
by bolt action? Yeah. Yes. How far off do I need to kill you from?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's crazy, but that's really what this is, right? I'm like, that is what this discussion is.
Yeah.
You know, from this aspect of it. And the other thing too is, you know, first of all, you know, we have a right to defend. Every country has a right to defend themselves, right? I'm like, every country has a right to defend themselves. And the thing that we keep coming back to, or at least I keep coming back to over and over again, is when I look at this situation, and hopefully when everybody's done listening to this, they don't go away thinking that, oh my gosh, these two dudes are pro blah blah blah, or this faction or that faction, because that's not this. Yeah, that's not the case. We're going to try to come at it from a purely factual perspective, a biblical perspective, and then a practical perspective.
Yeah.
And when I watch the video of who all is dying, it ain't soldiers.
No,
I'm not saying that there's not soldiers dying. There are, but it's women and kids, man.
The innocent.
Yeah, I mean the innocent. I mean, relative term, right? We're all relatively in the grand scheme. And a kid definitely is. They aren't old enough to a lot of times make a decision on salvation issues, right? But even so, like a lot of these people are carrying around their dead, their families.
I seen this one video of a guy who was from I think Ireland. I don't know if you've seen this one or not. And they let him know that his kids were dead, and he said, "Thank goodness." He said, "I'm glad they are not stuck in Gaza in some camp."
Oh my gosh.
He said, because he goes, who knows what have happened to them. There was a 16 and 8-year-old. And it was like, he was still crying, but he was thankful that they were already dead.
That it's over, and it's not going to get any worse for them.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's stark.
And it is, but that's what they're dealing with over there. You know, that's...
Yeah, your dad sermon today was spot on. I mean, it was spot on. He did a great job. And that's one of the things we talked about is like, how do you make a terrorist?
Yeah.
You know, if the whole mission of this is to eradicate terrorism, you can't go in and bomb civilians and children.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
And not make more terrorists.
Yeah.
That's exactly how you make terrorists. You want to make an extremist? Do it that way.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to make a bunch of extremists and a bunch of terrorists. Nothing breeds hate like death.
Yeah.
And the death of innocence.
Have you seen it's a Samuel L. Jackson movie. I think it's Unthinkable is the name of it. And he's interrogating this terrorist because he put a bomb somewhere in the U.S.
No, I haven't seen this.
So he brings his wife and his kids in. And so, you know, he's got the guy's wife, you know, he's talking to her in front of the guy, and he's like, "Tell me." And he's like, no. And so he just walks up and slits her throat.
Sam Jackson does?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And then you've got to have some kind of element of good or bad in this movie. So an FBI agent comes in and takes the kids because he was being too extreme.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what about all these people that are going to die? And, you know, and you said, what makes a terrorist? That makes a terrorist. I don't care what you do, what side you think you're on. Killing innocent people does not answer any question.
You're not going to get rid of Hamas that way. You're going to fuel Hamas.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult. I look at it from Israel's perspective too, on like, how do you most effectively go about this? Because, you know, the way they operate is they are cowards, and they will deliberately use human shields, and they will go in and they will intermingle in the population because they want you to go kill their people.
Yeah.
Because if you can kill enough of their people, then they know that they'll get the world and the sympathy of everybody behind them, and it just gets them one step closer to the demise of Israel.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're in for.
And that's what's happening.
It's
a slow burn, and it's getting ready to ignite, I think.
Yeah. It's a mess. And I think we're buffering out there as far as video. That's okay. Just close your eyes and listen.
Yeah.
We'll do better next time.
Like you do
man.
every week.
That's all right. Yeah. Just suffer through.
Now you know what we really look like.
That's right. See, you're not missing anything. You're not missing anything. I know the video is frustrating, but that's okay. You can still listen because I think that's working okay.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm sure my wife will tell me. And we're recording this too, so it's okay. We'll throw the recording on the back nine. It'll come out tomorrow, so we'll right our wrongs. But back to this. We did the exact same thing, and I said this today to your dad after service. We did the exact same thing in Vietnam.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We were trying to win the hearts and minds. That was the motto of the day. Win the hearts and minds of all the Vietnamese people, even the North Vietnamese, so that they come and join our cause and they fight against, the communist invaders of North Vietnam and all that. And then we turned around and bombed their villages.
Yep.
And just pushed more and more men to the north because they're like, well, you murdered my women, my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
So I'll just go join the North Vietnamese because you're invading my country.
Yeah.
And you've murdered my people.
Yeah.
And we do the same thing. We've done this time and time again. We have.
Yeah.
But the same thing happens no matter where you are. If it's us, if it's Israel, or if it's, Hamas, whatever.
Yeah.
Because now on the other side, right? Like you've got how many guys on the Israeli side are now going to be like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to kill as many Palestinians as I can get my hands on.
Oh, yeah.
Because they came into my house and slaughtered my family.
Yeah.
You just breed hate.
That's all you do.
Yep. And you make more hate.
Yeah.
Hate begets hate.
That's right.
And you know what? I put myself in the same situation. How would I feel? I hope that I would lean on my Christian, morals there and my faithfulness and rely on God to relieve me of the desire to want to seek vengeance. But you and I kind of talking before we even hit record today, right?
Yeah.
That bear mode engages. And it's like, I like to be known as the sweet guy who has the big teddy bear heart, but on the other side of the coin, you mess with my family and I'll rip your face off.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the best way to be, but
no,
but there's an element of protection in there. So, that'll do some psychological damage to you. And, you like to think that you could hang tight on your morals and then forgive people.
Yeah.
But man, that's a heavy ask.
Yeah, it is.
You're definitely going to need some godly help to get through that.
Yeah, you are.
So I guess I kind of skipped over a little bit of history just to kind of rewind a little bit to kind of retread some path. But one of the other things too, and this is important to set up from the biblical perspective because we're going to get into some of the prophecy side of the coin here as well. After Solomon, you have Israel, because at this particular point, through David and through Solomon, you have the kingdom is all one.
Yeah.
And then the kingdom gets split into two pieces. Bless you. The kingdom gets split into two pieces, and you have Israel. Oh, well, technically you have Samaria.
Yeah.
I think. And then you have Judah. I think, is that right?
Yeah, I think it was Judah and Benjamin, the rest of the 10 tribes.
Yeah. But Judah was the southern kingdom, of which Jerusalem sat in Judah.
Yeah.
And with that, you have Christ, who was the Lion of Judah.
Yeah.
Right? As it says in, I believe, Revelation. And so Christ and the Davidic line really is carried through the tribe of Judah.
Yeah.
And everybody starts turning away.
Yeah.
Everybody starts falling away as the biblical history reads over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And we fast forward and God would punish them, and we move back and God would punish them and we move back. And we move forward to today, and that's exactly the same thing that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Is they all have turned away from Christ. They have turned away from God. And they refuse to acknowledge, the Savior. And, we were talking about they got right on the threshold of passing the law in the country, in Israel, passing a law that says if you talk about the gospel, you are going to potentially get arrested and jailed for, I think, up to 14 years, depending on how strong your gospel beliefs are. Now, it got shot down. It did not pass, but they were talking about it.
Yeah.
And that just tells you how far that they've fallen away from God and Christ specifically.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so, on the one hand, it's like, is God doing what he's done in the past, which is like, you know what, I've waited for you to turn back, and I've waited for you to turn back, and you haven't turned back, so now I'm going to hand you over to your enemy. Is it that? Is that not happening? Because I think one of the things for Christians, and I know this gets into hot territory, so get ready. Here we go. But what I've seen so far, and I'm not shocked by it because I've seen it before, I think Christians especially tend to go rush to the defense of Israel.
Yeah.
And say, well, I stand with God's chosen people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it. They're God's chosen people, but they can still be bad and wicked.
Yeah.
You know, and they are, like they have been, not all of them. I want to be careful here. But when you go watch how they've responded and the things that they've done and they are getting ready to do, because they're going into Gaza. I'm surprised they haven't already gone into Gaza. I'm not sure what they're waiting for, but they're going. I think they're waiting to try to get as many. I will give them this. I think they're trying to get as many civilians out as they can before they go in and slaughter everyone.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to go in and slaughter everyone.
It's going to be a wasteland.
And this is where we probably get more into prophecy.
Yeah.
So fire away if you got it pulled up, Ben.
Oh, I don't have it pulled it up, but I was.
He has his Bible open in front of him. You can't see that on the camera, but based on what I'm hearing on feedback, nobody can see anything on the camera, so that's okay.
But when you were talking about, they're giving up, they're not, turning to Christ, and I use the Jewish study Bible, and in Matthew chapter 5, we'll start with we'll go 41, and it says, this is like from the Sermon on the Mount, and it says, I will say that this is not in anybody else's translation. I can say I can be one of those guys. I have a key that nobody else does.
I'm going to pause here because I think this is a good sales pitch for all of the complete. So, first of all, one of the things that I have learned teaching this class that I've been teaching is I would highly, highly recommend if you really want to do a good Bible study, do an electronic version on your phone or the computer. And pull up like an ESV or something like that, because it has a ton of bubbles, and you can hit the bubble and it will tell you like footnotes, or it'll give you circular references to other verses. Yeah. However, with that being said, one of the other things that you can do on the electronic app is you can go in there with your little finger and you can go find the CJB.
Oh, really?
Yes, because when I study now, I only really, when I want to know what it really says, not run through some bad English translational filter, I go to the Complete Jewish Bible. That's what CJB stands for, Complete Jewish Bible, which is what Ben has in front of him, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
So set this up a little more. The way it's important to talk about how the CJB is translated.
Yes.
Because not all translations are equal.
No.
I know some people are very purist to the King James. I'm going to just keep moving on because I'm not. I don't like the King James myself, but some people are.
Yeah.
However, the nice thing about the Complete Jewish Bible is if there is not a good translational phrasing or word for a translation for the word from Hebrew to English, it will just leave the Hebrew word.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So you're getting pretty much straight Hebrew as best it can be translated into English.
Yes.
So anyway, sorry, long setup, but there you go.
Yeah, this is chapter 5:41
in Matthew.
If a soldier forces you to carry his pack for 1 mile, carry it for 2. Now, that might not seem like a whole lot, but at the time, we have to remember they were occupied by Rome.
Yes.
And, it's not changed in the 2,000 years. There's always been an occupying force over there.
Yeah.
Whether it be the Israeli army.
Yeah.
With integrated into the people, or the Palestinians. So we can take this, even to today. I know it sounds like, oh, well, I'm not over there, I'm not fighting. But what Jesus is saying is love your neighbor still.
Yeah. That's right.
I do get upset when somebody asks me to do something sometimes, and I don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
We're human.
Yes, we are.
But we're supposed to, no matter what, still do it.
Yeah.
Carry it on.
Yeah.
Carry that pack. And what I'm saying, this, not in any other translation, I don't think, like worded like that, doesn't say soldier.
Yeah, I think you were telling me this before, and it is kind of a fascinating thing.
Yeah.
Because it is clearly highlighting carry this for the enemy.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
For the occupier.
Carry your enemy's pack.
Yeah.
Are they doing that?
No. No, it's more like stuff your enemy's pack with as much dynamite as you can and send him into the populace.
Now, and I know it's easy for people, oh, you can say live like Jesus or whatnot, but we have to. If we don't live like Christ or live for Christ, then what are we living for?
Yeah, exactly. We're living for ourselves.
Yeah.
I had a really interesting conversation the other day with a guy, and we were talking about how a lot of different organizations, like lodges and stuff, like the various different lodges and organizations, and there's 80 million of them out there, have all taken a huge hit in their membership. And how you can actually track, there was a guy that actually has tracked this going back however many years now, because we've had the internet, and they can do deep dive searches, I guess, or lookups on how often the language used is we versus me.
Yeah.
And we have entered a time today where it is very me focused. Everybody is out looking out for themselves, and we do not have a community setup. You know, we're not pro community. We're looking after ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that the gas pedal got smashed to the floor when we hit COVID.
Oh yeah.
You know, everybody went into that flight mode or that protection mode.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, things hit the fan, and I'm like, every man. It's like, you know, you want to see what The Walking Dead will look like for real. It's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Of how man will become the worst thing on the earth, not anything else. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
So we could fill the world with zombies, but it'd be men that you'd need to worry about first.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's true. I mean, look what we do with toilet paper, man. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. People are hoarding toilet paper.
Yeah.
I mean, not water. I mean, like, they probably were that too, but like the main thing that we all like, toilet paper.
Yeah, we don't want to help.
No.
And
it's protect myself and screw everybody else.
Yeah, we don't live like a body of believers.
No.
I am the eye. I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I don't need a nose or an ear or a mouth or a hand or a foot. You know?
Yeah.
We don't. And I think even in church, you said this today in church, the church doesn't even live like a body.
No.
We go, we sing our 3 songs, we listen to the preacher, we leave.
We check the box.
Yep.
And then we go do whatever we want. You know,
and we're all guilty of this. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, we all can be, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If your heart's not, you know, in alignment with God and in attunement with God.
Yeah.
And you're not living a life that is what he wants for you, or in a way that will bring glory to him.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself, you know, in order to do that is sacrificial, right? It's like, you know, it's so weird for us because we've entered the age where, you know, we went to a wedding yesterday, and it was the wedding of Adrian's oldest, like one of his really close friends, and he's a Marine. So he just joined the Marines maybe a couple of years ago, and he's already been over to Japan and come back. And I asked him yesterday, just as a side note, and he got married in full dress and everything.
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I asked him, I'm like, you know, we just sent 2 carrier groups over, you know, and we've got another one that's over in Japan or in China. And when you send a carrier group, it's multiple ships, multiple submarines. It's a lot. But the Marines, I didn't know this, but the Marines are a branch of the Navy.
Yeah.
Because anytime the Marines are going anywhere, the Navy's who gives them a ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I asked him, I'm like, you know, do you have guys, Marines, that are on these boats? And he said, yeah, we do. It was just in case, just to be safe.
Yeah.
And he got lucky and didn't have to go because of the circumstances, but they're starting to send these guys out.
Yeah.
And, I forget where I was going with that story, but sorry, sidetrack.
No.
But that's really kind of where we are with all of this, right?
Yeah.
And just how bad it's going to potentially get. But you were looking something up.
Oh, yeah. Like in Zephaniah.
Yeah, I got that pulled up too.
Oh, you do?
Oh, go ahead. You got the Bible open.
Oh, I was just going to, what's going to happen to Gaza?
Yeah.
Good news.
No, this is, yeah, cheery news. Yeah. Which if you go look, right, go on your electronic app. Now, if you want to get a Bible too, that's fine. I would recommend if you want to go get a Bible, you don't have a Bible, anybody out there, you want a Bible, get a study Bible. Now, it'll be good for now. If you're starting to grow as a Christian if you start looking at some of the notes in the bottom of the study Bible and you can go, no, that's wrong. You're in a good space. That doesn't make you arrogant. It just makes you well versed because you can back it up with scripture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But go get you a good study Bible, but use the electronic app. Fantastic, because you can switch to any of these versions. And you can flip between versions to see what the translation says. Yeah. Because not all translations were created equal.
And I on my phone, I'll admit I have a King James and NIV. And you're looking at me like, how dare you?
No, I don't. If you want to use the King James, that's fine.
But
I enjoy Sheol. No, I'm kidding. That's terrible.
But the main Bible I use is this one that I carry. But I use the Strong's Concordance for that. So I just hit that, and I just hit the number by the word. Yeah. And it just brings up so much stuff.
Yeah, to preface what you're getting ready, because you're going to read Zechariah too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Zephaniah too. Yeah. So you have Zechariah and you have Zephaniah. This is Zephaniah, which actually comes after Zechariah, I do believe. But just to set this up, because he's not reading Zephaniah 1, the way Zephaniah 1 is actually titled is basically God's punishment to the world, outlining God's punishment to the world right before he finally pulls the plug on the show. Yes. And we start the process of Christ's return. Yes. So we've outlined all the things we're going to do, and then now with chapter 2, we start getting specific to specific people. Yeah, and this is verse 4. For Gaza will be abandoned. Escalon, this is all Jewish, so please forgive me, will be desolate, which is right next door. Due north of Gaza. Right next door to it. Yeah, it's in Israel and due north. Yes. Keep going because I'll tell you where the other one is. They will evacuate Ashdod at noon. Also on the coast. Very specific. It is very specific. Very specific. So we're going to have to watch our clocks. Yes. I did not take the Gaza thing because I initially did, but I don't think the way that that's worded, it means Gaza is going to get emptied at noon. I took it that it's going to be emptied. No, I mean, it said Ashdod at noon. Yeah. Now, the curious thing with that is that's actually Israeli territory. Yeah. North of Gaza. Yeah. So what's going to happen there? I don't know. And Ekron will be uprooted. Woe to the inhabitants of the seacoast, the nation of Keret. The word of Adonai is against you. Which Adonai is God. Yes. Canaan, the land of the Philistim, I will destroy you, and no one will be left. Yeah. Yep. This is technically what's getting ready to happen. If this is what we're talking about, yes. Yes. Because what you have going on right now is you have this mass exodus of I don't know how many million people that are trying to get out of Gaza. Yeah. They can't get out. They fled to the south. Yeah. Because from what I understand, the northern part of Gaza is more of the city. Yeah. That's where there's a huge mass of populace. And then in the southern part of Gaza is where we have more of the, like, some agricultural stuff. Yeah. That they were, that they were supporting themselves. Yeah. With. Yeah. So everybody's trying to flee south. And I knew this was eventually going to happen because it's like, where do they go? Because they have the ocean on one side, on the west, right? Yeah. And then north and east is all Israel. Yeah. And then due south, it butts up to Egypt. Yeah. And the Egyptians, I knew they would do this. They're like, no, they ain't coming in here. Hamas ain't coming in here, yo. Yeah. We're not going to have a bunch of, a couple million refugees pour into our country.
Boy, Egypt gets...
They do better than we do. Is that where you're getting ready to go?
They're nicer.
Yeah. They're better on the border, that's
Yeah.
for sure. Their border policies are stronger.
Yes. Man.
It's a mess, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's a mess. And again, it's the women and children that I feel bad for because they didn't ask for this.
No.
They're just along for the ride. And Hamas is the one responsible.
Yeah. I'm not... I watched a little bit of the protest in Indianapolis.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
video of it.
I heard about it, but I didn't watch it. What were they protesting exactly?
I don't know.
They probably don't either.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I would be willing to bet you a large portion of that crowd just went down there to hopefully be part of a riot if it happened.
Yeah.
So they could get a TV. Right? Call it what it is.
Yeah. But there was some saying that, their families were attacked in Gaza and whatnot. It could be,
Wouldn't surprise me.
But still, like 400 or 500 years ago, my ancestors were ran out of England.
Yeah. Mine were American Indians. So there you go.
So should I go back to England and get my land back?
Reparations, Ben. You get over there and get your land back. Go file a claim. Get in line.
Get in line. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Is it right?
No, you know why? Because you have to have forgiveness and you have to move on.
Yes.
And that's what doesn't happen here.
No.
And on both sides.
Yeah.
It's not just the extreme side of one or the other. It's both sides, right? Like, and I kind of get both sides of the coin, like now I want to clarify that. I just want to make this really clear right now. If you're a terrorist organization, a Hamas, a Hezbollah, an Al-Qaeda, you need to be wiped from the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Immediately. All of you need to go. Okay, bye-bye. Because you're evil. All right? And we got no space for evil. But when you're just living your life and you have the unfortunate bad luck of being born in a place where they call it the world's largest open-air prison.
Yeah.
And it, like when you go look at the Google Maps is absolutely like shocking. Because like you can see the desolation before all this happened.
Yeah.
Like you have wide open area around on each side of Gaza, and then you get Gaza City, and it is just stacked with buildings, and people are living on top of each other.
Yeah.
And it's a mess.
Yeah.
And now it's just a huge rubbled mess.
Yeah.
So,
I go back to what, when Ishmael, his name, he'd be a kicking donkey to his,
is that what Ishmael means?
Yeah. He'd be like a kicking donkey.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Hmm.
he would be wild.
Yeah. And God says, I'm going to have a whole nation of people rise up from you.
Yeah.
Like I have Israel here, and then everybody
But he
else here.
said, Isaac is my chosen.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was kind of like a concession with Hagar, right? It's like,
Yeah.
Which I felt bad for Hagar, right? When you go back and you read the story, Sarah can't conceive with Abraham. She's up there, both up in years, can't have a baby, can't have a baby, can't have a baby. So in order to carry on Abraham's line, she's like, why don't you go and marry my handmaiden?
Yeah.
So you can, sleep with her via legitly and have a son so that you can actually carry on your line. And so he does, and he has Ishmael first. And then the angels come and tell Sarah, hey, you're going to have a baby. And, and that winds up being Isaac. And then she gets super jealous of Ishmael after Isaac's born and goes to Hagar and says, goes to Abraham, treats Hagar like trash.
Yeah.
And then goes to Abraham and says, you need to get her and her son out of here. I don't want him having anything to do with him anymore. And so Abraham does, which is interesting to me because I've been like, you can get over it.
Yeah.
But then again, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
And, and it was just like family problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they made up. Like, it's clear, like when Abraham's on his deathbed, there was no ill will between them.
No, there wasn't.
It seemed like they actually, the way you read it now, this gets into some stuff because if you go read the account in Genesis, but then you can also go read the account in Jubilees, and it will fill in more details in certain places than one or the other to get a more complete picture. But the way that I read the story, they seem like they have no ill will towards each other whatsoever.
Yeah.
Isaac and Ishmael.
Yeah.
They do not. Just like all other biblical stories, it's always their poop head descendants that just can't get along, and they wind up going at each other.
Yes.
And ultimately, this area we're talking about is the land of Canaan.
Yeah.
Which has been cursed from the minute we got off the boat, practically.
Yeah.
Because through Noah.
And then we get into two other brothers.
Where are we going here?
Moab.
Oh yeah, okay. You're gonna have to carry this boat because this bucket, I'm not good here.
Oh, you're not good here?
No, I'm weaker here.
Well, Moab is Esau.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so,
I'm decent here. I'll back it up. Yeah.
So, and they're another nation that's going to fall too.
Yeah. So you have Abraham, Isaac, and then it's Isaac, right? Isaac and Esau. No, Jacob and Esau. Jacob and Esau.
Yes.
So then Isaac has Jacob, and he has Esau.
Yeah, they're twins.
They're twins.
No, yeah, they were.
I believe they're twins.
No, they weren't.
Were they not twins?
No, they weren't.
Well, either way, no, they weren't because Esau was born. Esau was born first because it was his birthright that he gave up. So
I'm getting the other twins.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Abraham begets Isaac. Isaac and Ishmael are brothers.
Yeah.
They start forming the two nations, and then Isaac has Jacob.
Yes.
With Rebekah.
Yeah.
Rebekah favors Jacob. Isaac favors Esau because Esau is his firstborn.
Yes. And here we get into something that's probably one of the scariest things ever. And I've said it before. Said God hated Esau.
Yes. Now, here's the reason why God hated Esau, which is a strong wording because it tells me he was never repentant for what he did.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, well, I'll tell the story and then we'll get to that.
You can go right ahead.
So I'm stronger here than what I thought. So I know where you're going. But if I get anything wrong, you can correct because you're probably better than I am. But so you have Jacob. He's had these two sons. He's had Esau. Or Isaac, I'm sorry. He's had Jacob and he's had Esau.
Yeah.
And Isaac is favoring his firstborn, Esau, who is a hunter and hairy, which is an interesting statement.
And he smelled like the earth.
But Dad liked his cooking.
Yeah.
he just liked him. He liked him because he was a hunter and he was a man of the earth and stuff. And then Mom preferred Isaac. And so Esau comes in one day after hunting, and Isaac is making stew and says, "Give me some of that. I'm famished." This is their rough version.
Yeah. It's lentils.
Yeah, right. Which is like, dude, okay. And he's like, okay, well, I'll give you some if you give me your birthright. And he's like, yeah, what good's a birthright to me right now if I starve to death, which is just dramatic. And so he just kind of flippantly hands over his birthright.
Yeah.
And, he probably didn't think anything of it. He's like, yeah, probably, whatever, dude. And it's like, no, you agreed.
Yeah.
And forever had given away his birthright. But it didn't seem like the way the story reads that Dad, Isaac, is wanting to go along with this.
Yeah.
And so he winds up getting up in years. He goes blind. And Mom and Jacob work together to basically get Isaac's blessing on his deathbed, relatively speaking, for him to have the blessing. And then Esau finds out about it, and he's like, what have you done to me?
Yeah.
And Rebekah actually has Isaac send Jacob away because his brother wanted to kill him.
Yep.
And she sends him off for a while until his brother cools off. But that's where it came in. And the Bible says that God actually hated Esau for what he had done.
Yeah.
And you know what it seems like? And this is where it can get a little interesting. I wonder if the reasons for that is it was supposed to be through you, Esau that I made the line continue because you were the firstborn.
Yeah. Maybe.
And you threw it away.
Yeah.
And so now it's your brother's.
Because he told his brother, I will make you a great, he changed his name. He changed name
To Israel.
Jacob's name to Israel.
Yeah. Yes.
Can't speak.
No, it's all right. I can't remember. So we're a pair tonight, Ben. So yeah, that's how you get that's kind of the lead up.
Yeah.
Right. To this story. But ultimately it's through Esau. This is where we were really going with this, right?
Yeah,
Because you're going through the line of Esau and all of his descendants.
Yeah.
You kind of get almost the same thing that you get with Canaan.
Yeah.
Which they're cursed.
Yeah.
And they're not good people.
No, they're not.
And their line, Esau's line of people, are the Edomites.
Yeah.
Now that's where my knowledge of,
and that's another nation that will be destroyed.
yeah,
He said, I can't remember exactly, but pretty much Edom will be desolate.
Yeah, I had some other verses pulled up, so if you want to,
well, I'll talk.
More,
it wouldn't be the Tinfoil Hat Club if we don't bring in an extra biblical text.
no,
So I'll bring up Jubilees.
yeah, there you go.
So I was listening to Jubilees this week, and it talked about Jacob and Esau. And Genesis doesn't cover this because you just think, they made up at the bank, when he crossed over. But no, that didn't happen at all. A very sad end to Esau of when in Jubilees and Jacob ended up killing Esau after their father died because he did not hold to his oath.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Does it talk about that in the Bible?
No.
In Genesis?
No.
I think we just kind of move forward.
Yeah, we move forward because we think they made up and whatnot. But Jubilees said he shot him in the right breast with his bow. And then he shot his oldest son in the left breast.
Esau's oldest?
Yes.
Maybe I didn't get to this part just yet.
And they were at a tower. They were held up at a tower because Esau got like 4,000 men to help him take Jacob.
Yeah, I don't think I got to this part yet.
It was
because at first they do make up, or at least that's the way it kind of seems like.
Yeah.
And then Esau decides he's going to be like, yeah, I'm cool.
He listened to his sons saying, look, he took your birthright. He took all of this from you. Now, if they had problems back then.
Yeah, right.
And
now we've just multiplied however many times over.
Yes, and that's what people need to realize is this has been going on from almost day one.
Yeah. No, it literally has.
And I don't care what president, what world leader thinks they can come in and give this great thing, peace deal or whatever. There's a lot of hard feelings.
Yeah, no, there is.
And it keeps, it multiplies every day.
Yeah, it is. And from the Palestinian side of the coin, at one point, the world, not God, the world had declared that their land.
Yeah.
And even had called it Palestine.
Yeah.
And it was really the Zionist movement that we talk about, where people are coming back from Europe into the Middle East to repopulate, to form Israel, like officially as a country.
Yeah.
There was this huge movement. And I don't remember when the Zionist movement started. I want to say the 1800s, maybe. Something like that. Could be even earlier than that. I think it might have been even earlier than that.
Yeah.
But that's how that got going. And again, that's why you had the huge contingent of Jews in Europe that Hitler, rounded into camps to try to get rid of.
Yeah.
I'm sure eventually he would have loved to have gotten into Israel as well, or the area down there. But the other thing that I had pulled up here
is Isaiah 17.
Yes. Is that where you're getting ready to go next?
I'll let you go do this one.
So this is interesting too. Now, as far as prophecy goes, because this is a prophecy against Damascus. Now, Damascus is the capital of Syria.
And it's way up there.
Way up there. And the northern part of Israel, well, north of Israel, you have Lebanon on the coast, and then you have Syria next to Lebanon. And Damascus is the capital of, I believe, Syria. And this is the airport, one of the two, Aleppo and Damascus. The Israelis have bombed in the last few days because Hezbollah was up there, because the Syrians allowed them, I'm sure, to start attacking from up there. So that was Israel's response. And they've come out and they said, look, we don't really want to have to fight a war on two fronts, but if y'all keep screwing around, we will. And what you can read right out of the gate in Isaiah 17, which, just to pause, Ezekiel, Isaiah are extremely interesting reads from a prophecy perspective.
Yes.
Psalms is filled with prophecy of both Christ and anything and everything you could dream of.
Yeah.
And I found that we had referenced Psalm 83. It was Psalm 83 today. We couldn't remember exactly which psalm it was when we were in church, but it's Psalm 83, and I'll get there in a second. But Isaiah 17 reads this, and it's a prophecy against Damascus. A prophecy against Damascus. See, Damascus will no longer be a city, but it will become a heap of ruins. The cities of Aroer will be deserted and left to flocks, which will lie down with no one to make them afraid. The fortified city will disappear from Ephraim, and royal power from Damascus. The remnant of Aram will be like the glory of the Israelites. And it kind of goes on. I'm going to stop here, but it kind of goes on to say, I'll read a little bit further. Declares the Lord Almighty, in that day the glory of Jacob will fade, the fat of his body will waste away. It will be as when reapers harvest the standing grain, gathering the grain in their arms. And then it says, as when someone gleans heads of grain in the valley of the Rephaim. Yep, Ben just turned and looked at me with side eye, because anytime you hear Rephaim, that is a reference to the post-flood Nephilim.
Yep.
And the valley of the Rephaim is actually literally a valley that runs, I forget how long and from where to where, but it goes for a while. Yeah. Yet some gleanings will remain, as when an olive tree is beaten, leaving 2 or 3 olives on the topmost branches, 4 or 5 on the fruitful boughs. And it goes on here to say that Israel will be the one to do this.
Yeah.
In that day, their strong, and now I've moved down to verse 9. In that day, their strong cities, which they left because of the Israelites, will be like places abandoned to thickets and undergrowths, and all will be desolation. You have forgotten God, your Savior, and you have not remembered the rock, your fortress. Therefore, though you set out on the finest plants and plant imported vines, though on the day you set them out, you make them grow, and on the morning when you plant them, you bring them to bud, yet the harvest will bring as nothing in the day of disease and incurable pain. Woe to the many nations that rage.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of carries on and says that Israel will be the ones to do this to them.
Yeah.
And Israel said, if you guys keep screwing around, it's going to get really ugly for you too.
Yeah.
And Hezbollah has also begun attacking them from east to the west, because they got in some fights outside of Galilee, which you've got the Dead Sea, which is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, northeastern or northwestern portion of the Dead Sea. But then when you track the Jordan, which runs north out of the Dead Sea, and you keep going north, the Jordan pours into the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
Which obviously is where Christ picks up the disciples to start, and so on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when do you think Christ is going to return?
I tell you what, man. That's the thing is one of the things with this. Anytime we're talking about prophecy,
and I'm having fun right now.
Yeah, but kind of not, right?
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is, because we don't know. Is this? And the other thing too is there's so much history that even when you study, we're looking backwards through this lens that's literally thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
So, and the Bible is just filled with history. And, I've said before that I'm not super strong in the Old Testament. So have some of these things already come to pass? Yeah. And we're reading it thinking maybe it hasn't happened yet. Now, the thing with Zephaniah, the difference with Zephaniah that you just read is in chapter 1, right out of the gate.
Oh, yeah.
It says this stuff is going to happen right before I send Christ back.
Yeah.
So that is a clear marker of time.
Yeah.
When we look in the Isaiahs and we look in the Isaiah, Ezekiel, Daniel's another one that actually has quite a bit of prophecy. Psalms, and then which I'll pull up Psalm 83 here as well. I already have it up. And when you look at these, you're not quite sure when these are going to happen. Have they already happened? Maybe. Or are they going to happen? And they haven't happened yet.
Yeah. And we as Western Christians have no idea what any of this means. To be honest.
No.
I mean, we can sit and listen to the TV preachers, and I say that loosely as far as the famous, end time preachers. Everybody wants to sell a book. Everybody has the date that Christ returns. We can sit here and
which they don't know.
No, they don't.
Only God knows. I can pull the verse up right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. So we can sit and we can discuss this till we're blue in the face, but the fact of the matter is, it says what scares me the most is it says the day of the Lord. Forget the tribulation, forget everything like that. And one day God's going to do this. He's going to pour out his wrath in one day.
That's the way you kind of read it.
Yeah, when it says the day of the Lord, when you read, and I know Revelation, it has a build up, and there's so many things that you can discuss with that, but the day of the Lord will pour out his wrath. Now, what is that like?
Read Zephaniah 2.
And it says it'll be like Sodom and Gomorrah too.
No, it gets bad.
Yeah. But anyway,
no, that's very true. One of the other things we talked about today in service was how the Euphrates is drying up.
Oh yeah.
Now it's interesting because you have the trumpets, you have the bowls of Revelation.
Yeah.
It's actually the sixth bowl, I want to say, in Revelation, is the Euphrates dries up.
Yeah.
And now I don't want to say that I think we've already gone through the trumpets and we've gone through the bowls, because there's no way. I don't think that's possible. For me, anyway, the way that I read it, it'd be pretty obvious that we've gone through all that stuff. I think it's trumpets and then bowls, right? Is it bowls and then trumpets?
Yeah.
I think it's trumpets then bowls.
Yeah, I followed a guy that this was back in the early 2000s. I went to a couple of his conferences. I mean, he was very level-headed.
Yeah.
He would always say, if this is this, then this. And he never did put a date on anything. He would always, and I would say he was ahead of the curve on most things. And he always thought that Chernobyl was wormwood.
Yeah, interesting.
Because it killed a third of everything when it went. And he said, and when it exploded, it would have looked like a star or something coming down.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, because that basically says it's a fallen star that'll then poison the waters, and a third of the people will die, or 2/3 of the people.
Yeah,
something like that.
And there's still people dying from that today, when you think about it.
Yeah, especially the cancer and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean
I'm not saying that, but it was I've always thought like that. Does it have to be?
And again, I don't know. I don't know. That's the hardest thing is when you start talking about the future, since we haven't been through the Gateway project, we just don't know, right? There's a cue. If you haven't listened to our last episode yet, go back and listen to that craziness. Maybe they know.
Maybe.
Hey, somebody from the CIA, decide that you're going to do something good for a change and come tell us what's going to happen. No, I don't believe that to be the case.
No.
You know, I don't care what power you think you've got or how unlocked you've made the human mind. It's still going to be hidden from you.
Yeah.
If God wouldn't even share it with Christ, you definitely ain't getting it.
That's right.
So,
but anyway, you were going to read.
No, this one to me is, hits pretty hard, especially with where we stand today. And again, don't know when in time we're talking about, but here's what it says. And when you go through Psalms, it's written by several different people. Obviously, one of the more featured is David. David wrote a lot of the Psalms. Another one that's featured quite often is Asaph.
Yeah.
And this is one of his Psalms. And it reads this, and this is Psalms 83. O God, do not remain silent. Do not turn a deaf ear. Do not stand aloof, O God. See how your enemies growl, how your foes rear their heads. With cunning they conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish. Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation, so that Israel's name is remembered no more. With one mind they plot together. They form an alliance against you. In the tents of Edom, ding, 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 ding. Good job, Ben. And the Ishmaelites, ding, 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 ding. Of Moab, there you go, ding, ding, ding again. And the Hagrites, Byblos, Ammon, and Amalek, Philistia with the people of Tyre. Even Assyria has joined them to reinforce Lot's descendants. Do to them as you did to Midian, as you did to Sisera and Jabin at the river Kishon, who perished at Endor and became like dung on the ground. Make their nobles like Oreb and Zeb, all their princes like Zeba and Zalmunna, who said, let us take possession of the pasture lands of God. Make them like tumbleweed, my God, like chaff before the wind, as fire consumes the forest or a flame sets the mountains ablaze. So pursue them with your tempest and terrify them with your storm. Cover their faces with shame, Lord, so that they will seek your name. May they ever be ashamed and dismayed. May they perish in disgrace. Let them know that you, whose name is the Lord, that you alone are the Most High over all the earth. Psalms 83.
Yeah.
Now, again, you could make a strong argument to say that this has already happened. Because the funny thing is, when you go back and you look at these wars, when they are getting invaded on all sides and people are coming to kill them, they kick everyone's butt.
Yeah.
And everybody finally goes, okay, we'll sue for peace.
Yeah.
And they give them stuff. And then we just turn around and do it again.
Yep.
And I think part of that could be because of the continued falling away of Israel.
Yeah.
You know, I think God protects them because they're his chosen people. I do think that there's an element of that in here, but I also think that there's an element in here of like, well, if you're going to turn away from me, then I'm only going to protect you for so long before I finally let your enemies have at you.
Now, I'll say something controversial. It is the tinfoil hat
Well,
club.
Ben, we don't deal with controversy on this show. Oh, wait, we don't deal with anything but controversy on this. I got confused.
They're only chosen because of Christ.
That's an interesting look. You are correct. It really, if you go back, because you're looking really hindsight through the lens backwards, right?
Yeah.
Like you were basically chosen because I wanted Christ to come through this particular lineage point.
Yep.
Because you will be my people, and through you I will bring up basically Christ.
If it wasn't for Christ, they wouldn't be, it would,
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yet here they sit today and they've completely turned away from him.
And
So have we, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because the fact of the matter is we're not some shining
No.
city on a hill here.
No.
I mean, we've talked about it very openly on this show, because the other thing too is like, I think if they had to pick between the two of us, which one they wanted to kill first, they'd pick Israel. But I got to tell you, they'd probably have some pretty hot debate on wiping us out first.
Yeah.
And they do. They want to kill us.
Yeah. And I don't even know them.
Right. And they don't, they just know how our government has continuously interfered.
But our governments gave them so many weapons. They should be happy.
It don't work that way. It does not work that way, it seems.
No.
Yeah, you think you should be happy. How many billions do we have to give you before you finally acquiesce? And
aren't they pretty much a welfare state because we give them money?
Oh man, good call. We should take that back.
Yeah.
Can I get my reparations for that?
Yeah.
I want an AK and a chopper,
Get to the chopper.
or an AR-15 and a chopper.
I want a Abrams.
Yeah, there you go. Tank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's only fair.
I think so. It's not unreasonable. It's your tax dollars.
Yeah. I was thinking,
We should go in together and actually form a petition, like however much we pay in taxes, do the math on that, and figure how many people we need to actually pay for a tank, and go in together and we can have like a tank custody arrangement. Sorry, go ahead. It's ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Thanks for the gift.
yeah.
Oh wait, where's my button at? And there it is. Boom. There it is. There we go.
I know this, it still goes along, but I was thinking about this the other day. We have gotten away from Christ, really, the U.S. church. I'm going to just say,
yeah, totally.
I think I've hit this before. We are like God and country. And I'm treading on some serious ground right here because we put that above anything else.
We do.
We put that above. If it's what I'm saying is, you have to be an American and God. That's going to save you, not your relationship with Christ.
I think we do the exact same thing when we rush to support Israel.
Oh yeah,
in this situation.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I just want to clarify this because I know people get their panties in a twist awful fast. So I just want to make it sure really clear of what I'm saying. Then you can get your panties in a twist. But at least you heard me what I'm saying. And if you don't like if you heard me right and you don't like what I have to say, that's fine. But I don't want you to get all twanged out when you misunderstood what I was saying. I am not condoning for 1 second what the Palestinian, which let's clarify, Hamas. It wasn't the Palestinian people.
No.
It was Hamas who just wants to try to represent the Palestinian people. Yeah. What they did, it was disgusting, and they were literally cutting off the heads of infants.
Yeah.
They were beheading babies.
Yeah.
And then thinking that God would be happy about it.
Yeah.
That is a disgusting, evil person that needs to be eradicated from the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I would happily do it.
Yeah.
Okay, and sleep like a baby. So I'm not saying what I'm saying to defend it at all, but we need to be very careful because we get so caught up in being Americans, and America has always stood by Israel through thick and thin. And it's like, yeah, but how can we stand by? Like, if it was our government that was doing what they're doing and bombing civilians, do you think our people would be happy about that?
We've always done that.
Yet this goes back to the story that you shared last week.
Yeah.
And your dad shared again today.
Yeah.
About how we deliberately kicked out during Desert Storm. We kicked a lot of the media out because we were going in and doing exactly that.
Yeah.
And we didn't want anybody to know it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same exact thing that Israel is doing right now.
Vietnam.
Yep. Exactly. They bombed the media tower in Gaza, took it to the ground.
Yeah.
Right? And now they have cut off power, cut off everything so that it would make it exceptionally hard for somebody to be in there reporting on what they're doing.
Yeah. It's true.
And I mean, we can already see what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't support the bombing of women and children. I just don't. No. I'm not going to. I don't care who does it. I don't care if God's chosen people do it, quote unquote, or the Palestinians do it, or the Syrians do it, or the Iranians do it, or the Iraqis do it, or we do it. I am not supporting that.
Yeah.
If you want to go bomb terrorists back to the Stone Age, I will climb on that bus 10 out of 10 and pay double price to get on there. I am down.
Yeah.
But I am not going to support, nor am I going to yay rah yay, the killing of women and children.
Yeah.
And both sides are doing that right now.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. We should be appalled and disgusted.
Yes.
Not sit here and waving whatever flags.
Yeah, that's I'm like I don't get the whole We have to be.
It's an ignorant Christian thing, man. I'm just going to call it what it is. That might even make some of my own family mad, but I'm going to call it what it is. And if they don't like it, too bad, because God's not happy about any of this.
No.
I think God in heaven weeps at this.
I do too.
Because he's watching two people that came from his chosen people do this to each other.
Yeah.
Out of hatred and years of bitterness and blood and bad blood.
Yeah.
And they want to kill each other. And they are killing each other. There's no want to about it. Yeah. Well, we've got how many people? We've got 3,000, 4,000. How many people dead now? I don't even know. I've lost count. I'd have to go look it up. How many thousand people are dead right now? And we're what, a week in?
Yeah.
A week and a half, maybe tops?
As you were talking, I know this is random. I was thinking of the VeggieTales, the Snoodles tale. If you have not seen that.
I don't remember this one, but
it's kind of like based on a Dr. Seuss thing. It's, I'll admit, I get a little teary-eyed when I watch this one. It's really good. But anyway, it's about this character and everybody's making fun of him. And so he goes up to the person that created them. And he was like, I don't see you like that. I see you like this.
Yeah.
And that's how God doesn't see us in the mud. He sees us above the mud.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to live.
Right.
Everybody should be like that.
I asked my students the other day, I said, are you saints or sinners? And every single one of them said sinners. They all said sinners.
It's crazy.
Like, if you're hearing my voice right now and you've accepted Christ as your Savior, maybe you're not living in accordance to, fully useful like I used to be. Because I'm speaking from familiar territory of where you might be. You're not a sinner.
No.
You're a saint.
Yeah.
You are saved by the blood of Christ.
Yeah.
You will be in heaven someday.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me how in the church we have had this mass pervasion of this thinking that we're forever sinners.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I want to make this clear. Are you capable of sin? Yeah, of course you are, because you are a fallen human being that lives in a fallen world and you're capable of sin. However, if you've repented of your sins and you're trying to live in accordance with God and what his will for you in your life and live up to the example of Christ, you're a saint.
Yeah.
I'll see you in heaven someday.
Yeah.
So we need to get that out of our heads. And the other thing too, that, I think ultimately where we went with all of this today is this, and I know we got a few minutes left, but we undoubtedly, and we're going to keep watching this, right, as it unfolds, because I think it's going to become more and more clear where we are on the timeline here. If we start watching some of the things that we're talking about happen, because the way that some of these verses read, especially through the modern lens, is when we see towns get completely destroyed and inhabitable, that speaks of nuclear weaponry.
Yeah.
And we know that Israel is a nuclear armed state.
Yeah.
We know that some of the other people who are supporting some of this on the back channels have access to nuclear weapons potentially through other countries. So I don't know. Iran seemingly is a ways away from developing their own nuclear weapon.
That we know of.
However, Russia is a nuclear state and they're buddies with Iran and they sure don't like us.
Yeah.
China, North Korea seems very close, imminent, and they're all cozied up together.
North Korea is just keeping us safe from Godzilla. That's why they launched the...
Well, I feel better. I'll go to bed tonight. Sleep sounder that I know that Kim Jong-un is there to protect me.
Sorry.
That's good stuff. Godzilla. Godzilla. Oh, my goodness. I can't hear that without thinking of the video game Rampage from the like the Nintendo game back in the day.
Yeah.
That's a Gen X kid talking there. But, ultimately where we are here, though, is we are getting ever closer to the final hour.
Yeah.
And it's, as we talked about this morning, it is that much more critically important that if you have not if you have not turned your life over to Christ and you have not decided to accept his gift that was given to you on the cross and seek him with all your heart, mind, and soul, you need to do that right away.
Yeah.
And you need to get your family there because it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
I'd love to give you some fluffy yay, rah, yay speech that this is going to get better, but it sure seems like it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
I mean, we should work to try to get better as best we can, but ultimately, we need to save as many people as we can.
If I would say, if we really wanted to change it, then, as it says, if his people would pray and turn from their evil ways,
I will heal them and restore their land.
That's right.
I will restore them and heal their land. I think I paraphrased the wrong direction.
You know, praying, that's almost a slang word now.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks to Facebook.
Yeah.
You know,
it's hollow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts and prayers is like the worst thing anybody could ever post.
It's like I checked the box for you.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was good.
No.
We're all guilty of it too.
Yeah.
I do it.
We are to pray without ceasing.
Yeah, seriously. And what that means is, I never took it to mean like literally you need to spend every waking moment in some form of prayer, but I think that you need to have a regular dialogue with God throughout the day.
Yeah.
When you feel thankful, you need to say thank you.
Yeah.
And when you feel scared or frustrated or anxious or whatever, you need to pray about that too.
Yeah.
That's what that means to me.
Yeah.
Seek him in all your ways and he'll show you which path to take.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to become ever more important as we move forward through this whole situation. But I got to tell you, things are escalating very quickly over there. And when they finally do go into Gaza, which has to be imminent.
Yeah.
I mean, by the timelines that they have handed out themselves, it is imminent and they are going to do it.
Yeah.
It is going to be bad. And it is probably going to end up turning on them. If prophecy is correct, the things that they are going to do in Gaza is going to get out into the international community, and it's probably going to turn the world against them because of what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And if that starts to happen, you can see we are going to be inching ever closer to everything inside of that covers of that ancient book start to play out more and more true. And a lot of the things what we've read today, you may see.
Yeah, that's true.
It's terrifying.
Yes, it is.
Well, any final thoughts, Ben?
No, I this one is like pretty good. So
yeah, it's going to get ugly, dude.
Yeah, we could go more, but it's about that time anyway.
We could, but yeah, it's literally we're in a kind of holding pattern. We're just going to have to watch and see what happens and just keep our eyes fixed on the situation, but more importantly, fixed on God.
Yeah.
And we'll see how everything winds up shaking out, but it's going to get ugly.
Yes, it will.
It's going to get very ugly. Well, with that, y'all, we love you. We will catch you later, and we will see you next time on The Foil. Take care.
Bye.
atonement.